Look, we hear a ton about setting boundaries for our mental wellness, right? It's everywhere. But today, we're looking at something much, much more surprising, and honestly, a little scary. The cold, hard neuroscience of giving too much. We're going to explore exactly why giving constantly without limits isn't just making you tired. It's actually a highly destructive form of neurological self-sabotage.
So think about this for a second. Have you ever walked away from listening to a coworker vent about their day or a friend dealing with a crisis and felt like you literally just ran a marathon? Your body feels heavy, right? We usually just tell ourselves, well, I'm just being a good friend, or maybe we think we're just a little too sensitive. But biologically speaking, something wild is happening beneath the surface of that exhaustion.
You see, we get completely trapped in this social myth that boundaries are just, polite social rules, just a way to manage our calendars. But the biological reality is vastly different. Your brain doesn't just feel tired after soaking up someone else's stress. Its actual chemical makeup is fundamentally altering. It is actively rewiring itself into a state of permanent survival.
Which brings us to Section 1, the biology of no boundaries.
The absolute core premise we need to establish right out of the gate is that boundaries are not optional. They are absolute, non-negotiable biological requirements for the chemical integrity of your brain. Without them, your brain breaks down in 6 very specific, scientifically backed ways. We're talking about a cascading effect that goes from an initial cortisol flood straight through to actual physical decay. So let's break down exactly how this happens.
Let's look at the start of this chain reaction in Section 2, cortisol floods and brain fog.
It all starts with something called mirror neurons. And these are absolutely fascinating. They're brain cells that don't just objectively observe someone else's stress, they actively mirror it. Meaning, if you're sitting next to a chronically negative person, your body reacts as if their danger is attacking you directly. This triggers a chronic cortisol flood, causing your own stress hormones to spike and just stay there. Over time, soaking up this emotional pollution literally damages your body. We're talking weakened immunity, digestive issues, and even accelerated aging, just from sitting next to the wrong energy.
And that constant flood of stress hormones, it actually hijacks your prefrontal cortex. Your drowning nervous system essentially weakens the part of your brain responsible for logic, decision-making, and focus. You start experiencing severe brain fog, annoying memory slips, and you might find it incredibly hard to regulate your own emotions. Listen, you aren't losing your mind. Your brain is just prioritizing base survival over high-level logic because, chemically, it feels like it's constantly under attack.
Now, things get even more complicated in Section 3, the addiction to toxic chaos.
So this hijacked state leads to a really sinister cycle where your brain stops merely reacting to stress and develops a literal addiction to toxic relationships. It works like this. Step 1, conflict happens, triggering a massive cortisol spike. Step 2, the apology or the makeup session happens, which floods your brain with a huge hit of dopamine. And then step 3, cravings. Your brain gets trapped in a biochemical dependency. It actually starts to crave the chaos and unpredictability because that's the only time it gets that massive dopamine reward. It might feel like passion in the moment, but neurologically, it's behaving exactly like a drug addiction.
Which naturally leads us to the fallout in Section 4, compassion fatigue and decay. Living like this over time means you get trapped in what's called a sympathetic vagal state. Basically, your nervous system is trained to scan for danger every single second of the day. You become hyper-attuned to the tiniest shift in someone's tone of voice, or even the specific way someone closes a door. Now, that might feel like some kind of emotional superpower or deep intuition, but actually, it's a hyper-alert survival mode. And in this state, true connection is literally impossible. You aren't connecting with people anymore, you are just surviving them.
Because this constant survival mode absolutely destroys your emotional differentiation. Instead of healthy empathy, where you simply understand someone's pain while maintaining your own center, you fall into emotional contagion. You literally become their pain. Without boundaries, the line between your feelings and their feelings just completely disappears. Neurologically speaking, you lose your status as a separate individual, and this inevitably leads to severe compassion fatigue. It's an emotional freezing, where you simply have to shut down entirely, just to keep from collapsing under the weight of everyone else's stuff.
And the ultimate result of all this? Systemic physical decay. Because your brain and body operate as one unified system, this constant chemical chaos eventually manifests physically as inflammation. Your nervous system essentially starts to violently rebel against being an open door for everyone else's trauma. You might experience intense insomnia because your mind is racing in the silence of the night. Or you might just feel totally numb with a complete and utter loss of motivation. That is your biology screaming that it cannot sustain this way of living for one more second.
But there is good news. Let's move to Section 5, rewiring your brain for recovery.
Fortunately, there is absolutely a light at the end of the tunnel here. This neurological damage, it's completely reversible through a deliberate recovery ritual. First, you have to start protecting your nervous system the exact same way an elite athlete vigorously protects their physical body. Second, you have to stop being so legible and constantly available to everyone around you. By establishing strict boundaries, you will finally shift out of that stressful sympathetic mode and back into a calm, resting ventral vagal state. Once you do that, your prefrontal cortex strengthens, your cortisol drops, and finally, you can hear your own thoughts again.
Maintaining the chemical integrity of your brain requires choosing a proactive position over a constant, draining reaction to other people's chaos. As the sources for this explainer beautifully put it, position is freedom. Boundaries are not about being mean, and they aren't about shutting people out. They are a fundamental biological necessity to keep your mind clear and your body functioning the way it was originally designed to.
So I want to leave you with this one question to think about. Are you ready to stop being the well that everyone else drinks from? If you're ready to protect your biology and immediately reclaim your physiological boundaries, drop a comment below right now and type, "I move with awareness." Take that power back today. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.